Faire staff for this fabulous venue, and my eternal gratitude to my celebrity guests. Please welcome Consuela Blanche, Amadon Wonder, and Dorian Cao. All three of them have been victims of me in the Jewell Theatre. So my first question tonight is to Consuela. What did you find most exciting or challenging about performing in a virtual environment like Second Life?
Well, first, thanks for inviting me. I'm excited to be on a panel. I've been involved with you for quite some time. I don't even know how many years, but several plays, and I've enjoyed the experience very much. As far as what excites me the most is the variety. In Second Life, we can do and be anyone. So the variety of characters and different roles and styles we get to play with has been a lot of fun. Before I was an actress on your stage, I was a SL model. So that's kind of something I already enjoyed. So being able to not just walk down a runway, but also use my avatar's looks and styling to tell the story was very appealing to me. But every play that you put in front of us always brought a new adventure and new things to experience and style. And I always saw them as styling challenges, which I enjoyed. As far as the biggest challenge, I think for me, honestly, it was the time. Because, when you commit to a play, you're committing to a lot of rehearsals and the time it takes to style and everything. Then there's, it's more than just styling the outfit, right? So it's learning where to move your avatar. It's learning what gestures you might need and how you're going to use your avatar to bring the story to life. So I just get frustrated with myself that I don't have enough time to do all the things, because being in your plays has been amazing and I love them, and I wish I had more time to do more of that.
Yes. What we need is no more RL. we need less of that stuff. Yes. Dorian, can I pose that same question to you?
And I'll pose a similar answer. The time is the most challenging of it.
Yeah.
But the fun of it is, doing something like this is exciting. When we first started, we were on a set no bigger than this rug. And then we just kept getting different and bigger, and then we started using special effects. Then we started doing really strong dialogue with movement at the same time, which it's exciting and challenging at the same time, because it's like, okay, walk left, turn right, say your line, walk right, turn, so there's a lot of that your mind is just racing as you're doing it. And we do it in text versus voice because of the limitations of voice. So it can be very challenging to be walking your avatar, making sure you're sitting without looking like an idiot, and then copying and pasting from our script to the lines. And then the other big challenging thing about performing is there's this little thing that sometimes happens in Second Life. I know it's not very often, but every now and then, the simulators kind of slow down a bit. So it kind of walk back and forth a couple times, or bump into a door, or things like that. The lag can be fierce when there's so many people watching us on stage, as we're moving in real time. We talked long ago about maybe we could just do little pose balls that move us around, and it just wasn't the same. No. So we get to have fun being original with our own characters too, and that's really exciting. You give us this, we get a script, and we get to change it up a bit to fit us.
Absolutely. I think it's always been very important to me that actors have agency over their roles, because you can write and you can direct and you can make people move in pose balls, but you're denying such a wealth if you do that, because the people will show me things that I was not expecting to see, and I think that makes everything so much richer. Amar, I know that you are in a theatre group in real life. How do you prepare for a role when acting in Second Life compared to traditional theatre?
Both of them are pretty similar to each other, to be honest. The biggest thing is practice, practice, practice. Basically, you can carry on to it. It feels about, second nature to you. Honestly, preparing for a role in Second Life, it's not much different from traditional theatre. Biggest difference is that in SL I get the luxury of copy-pasting my lines in a local chat, which makes remembering them a whole lot easier. In real life, though, there's no such shortcut. I must memorise the entire script and make sure I deliver each line exactly as the director envisions, with the right timing, tone, and emotion. One thing I really enjoy about Second Life performances is the creative freedom. The sets can be massive and wonderfully elaborate, often far beyond what could ever fit on a real stage. Scene changes, a breeze, these reses and everything makes it so much easier. Just a simple click and the world reshapes itself. In real life, we're usually working with tighter spaces and physical limitations, so every movement must be precise and efficient. That said, one lesson that applies to both worlds and something Second Life really hammered home for me is the importance of blocking. Whether you're on a virtual stage or on a real one, knowing exactly where to be and when is crucial to putting off a yeah.
Okay, Dorian, I have thrown a lot at you over the years, and I'm fascinated to hear how you maintain your character during a performance in Second Life, given the nature of the environment.
I kick, I scream, I drink a lot. When we're performing, and we've said this a lot, we say this as we're about to go on, we've got the nerves, just like a real performance, just like anything else. We go on, we're doing what we're doing, and it's all for the people that are watching. To them, I'm going to use our line, we're like swans on a lake, gracefully moving across the stage. Meanwhile, under the water, we are paddling our little butts off, trying to not mess up, trying to get to our spots and do all that. It's very, very, what's the word I'm looking for? Exhausting might be the right word for it. After curtain call and bows, I'm like, I need to take a nap. Because it's a lot of work, and we're hyped up because, we're performing, we're on stage, so we've got that big adrenaline rush.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Consuela, this is a hot topic. How do you interact with your audience in real time? I mean, how do you know that they haven't sat their avatar butts down and wandered away from their keyboards?
You don't really know for sure, but it's Second Life and I've been here a long time, so people know the people wander away. They're either getting food, maybe their dog got into something, somebody threw up, that they get pulled away from their keyboards, right? So that's going to happen, but we don't expect that to happen to the whole audience, right? So I know you've allowed us some ability to ad-lib a little, or throw a little something out there. I remember there were times where you're like, don't get carried away now, but we can ad-lib or toss a little something in there to kind of check the audience. And I have found through performing with you and in your plays is that I feel like most residents have been conditioned to be quiet during a performance, and they don't feel like they can say anything in local. So I always enjoyed, at the beginning of our performances, there was a part that I believe it was either in Dorian's recording before we got started, or it was a part of the opening stuff, that we drop in local for people to see to encourage their engagement. So laugh, type, respond to the characters, heckle a bit, right? Have some fun with it to try to engage the audience. So when I feel like we were pretty successful with that, although I know there were some places we traveled to where people were still kind of shy about it, but I always enjoyed trying to poke the audience a little bit. And I would say we were generally successful with getting a response.
What is quite interesting, and of course, if you've ever been in one of our audiences, you may not know, we copy and paste the best comments in our stage direction window so that everybody gets to see it. because they're not necessarily in a position on the stage set where they can see when somebody got the joke and or reacted or predicted what was going to happen next. And we always really loved that, so we would value that and sort of share it between us. Always very good. Yeah, absolutely, Wolf. So I'm going to ask all of you this question, and it's up to you which one of you wants to go first. What role does your avatar's appearance and movement play in portraying your character? You touched on this earlier, Consuela, and certainly I think as a Second Life model, I found that you were brilliant at getting around the stage and you know, knowing where good touch points would be on that, you know?
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's all that model school.
Yes. So how important was the appearance and the movement?
I was
Well,
waiting.
all
Go
of
ahead,
you.
Dorian. Yeah, go.
I mean, look at me right now. I'm a snake. I'm a naga. So my appearance would not work good if I was to be, you know, portraying a child or portraying a fisherman or something like that. You know, we do so much sourcing for the plays when we're doing them because we're trying to get it just right. Many times it's a timeline. You know, we're going to be set in this era. Okay, got to find this type of era clothing. Then we've got to have, okay, you're going to have more money, you're going to have less money, etc., etc. So then we have to find that clothing. Then it comes down to, you know, your face is great, but in this play, you're just too pretty. We need to fix that because we want people to not see you as so pretty. So it's really important to help, you know, make it more believable.
Yeah. What about you, Aima?
Oh, right, yeah, I actually agree. The way your avatar looks and moves is actually a big part of bringing your character to life. It's important that appearance fits the role, from clothing right down to the smallest detail. Because, you know, for in here especially, you know, the visuals do help tell the story just as much as the dialogue does. But also another thing is the animations are really important too. You know, the way your avatar moves and needs to match the personality and mood of the character. If the movements feel off, it can break the illusion for the audience. So getting those little things right really helps to make the performance believable. Yeah.
Consuela, I know that this is very important during the play Shahrazad's Daughters, where you played one of the leading roles. How do you collaborate with other virtual actors and directors in Second Life, and what communication tools do you use?
Well, when I was thinking about this question, I was like, back in the day, didn't we use Skype? Was that was that what
Oh
we...
yes.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Like,
We
I
used
think about
inworld IM voice, and then when that started playing up, we started using Skype,
I
and now we're
remember
all on Discord.
I remember we were so Skypey, and we would just the graduation to Discord was so painful because
Yes.
it works differently,
Yeah, it
you know.
was. It was.
So, but you know, we use Skype now, Discord. We've used note cards. We use instant messages. We use, you know, all manner of things. But I think it's really important to have another system outside of SL to be able to talk to your, you know, your cast, the people you're performing with, just to keep those lines of communication open. So just a blending of all those things has made it really seamless. Again, as someone who works a lot in First Life, you know, full-time job, I don't want to miss anything. And that's even more recently, Fakey. I was like, hey, just get me in Discord. I have it all day, every day, and I won't miss anything. So that's been, I think, super helpful, having something like that. Sorry, I think I cut myself off. Having something like Discord to help us.
Yeah, yeah, it's been brilliant for us. We love it. Dorian, have you ever faced technical issues during a performance? I'm laughing as I even ask you this. And
Oh,
how do you
never.
overcome them whilst staying in character?
Never. And I know exactly what you're referring to. We were doing a play. We were doing a play in a very large theater, and I am the set builder. and I put all of our sets into this little tiny box that will poof them away and res them out at a command. Well, I may have mentioned it before. There's this thing in Second Life, they call it lag. And the lag was hitting hard, and it hit our reser. So I thought, well, oh, there's a reset button. Let me reset the reser. That might help with the lag. What I didn't realize was it reset every single script in every single piece of furniture. So I had to, we made our apologies to the people waiting for the show. And they went to a coffee shop right outside the theater for a bit, as I frantically rezzed each set, reset them, reprogrammed them, and put them back into the reser for the show. That's the biggest one we've had. Whenever we have our performances, we tell everybody to be seated in chairs, because our reser will throw sets, and most of them are not Phantom. So we have knocked a few people out before, which sadly funny. But yeah, you just gotta make it work. Gotta go on. It's the cliche, but the show must go on. We've had times where doors won't open or chairs don't appear. So all of a sudden it's like, okay, I'm supposed to sit, so I'm just gonna stand and give my line. You just gotta keep going with it.
You absolutely have. I do remember very, very early on in our theatre career, we had a married couple in real life, who were both in the play, and their router went down right in the middle of the play. Both of them were on the stage at the time, and it was crazy. And I was stage managing at the time, because the beauty of directing is when the play starts running, I've got nothing to do except sit back and watch the audience. But at that time, I was actually stage manager, and they just both disappeared. We didn't really go for stand-ins at that time. I just had to walk on the set and play the part. And they didn't get back. They didn't get back for the whole play. So, but we managed to get through it, because I think you ended up standing in for Caden, and I stood in for Dara, and we got through. Those things happen, and we also had a situation where we had a lady. I learned my lesson from that point, and we used to have stand-ins in the right outfit ready, and one of our cast members crashed. She was able to say in the Discord that she was crashing, and her stand-in sort of double-click teleport into her space. I don't even know if the audience noticed that it was a different actress. It was phenomenal. That was Daisy. Brilliant. Do you remember? Oh, yes. Good. And I was so impressed. And she was at the right place in the script. She was the stand-ins, it always sounds like such a miserable role, but my God, they always got on the stage, and they were always so busy, Anyway, Amar, a very similar question to you. I've got, are there any unique challenges or opportunities in virtual theatre that have allowed you to innovate or experiment with your acting?
I think challenges, yeah, definitely. One of the biggest problems for me, what I have is when I've got to switch between multiple characters, in a single play, when I've got to play more than one character, especially when it comes to changing the outfits. As a bloke, a male avatar, I'm not exactly good at changing clothes very often. I tend to stick with, I stick with the same clothes for about a year or so and sort of just keep them on, sort of thing. So when it calls for, quick character changes, I had to learn to prepare folders and everything for each character in advance, so I could just, add, to wear the whole lot, change the whole outfit in one go. But, on the flip side, one of the things I really enjoy about virtual theatre is it's the freedom to play such a wide variety of characters, from, humans to all sorts of different species, cats, dogs, horses and all that sort of stuff. And it, opens doors to roles and different possibilities where, you would never be able to explore those in real life, I find.
I want to ask you about a time when we did Snow,
Yeah.
you played a little wolf puppy, but
Oh,
you were
yeah.
going to have to change into a man later. And I'd never scripted this, but you did something really unique.
Well, yeah, well, I wanted to play to the audience a bit. You know, a puppy, what does a puppy do? Looks cute and yaps and everything. So I've got a little puppy running around and everything, peeing on members of the audience, yapping at them and all that sort of stuff. And then later on, as I had to change my role, I sort of think, how do I do this? So I thought, I know. Each time I start acting like a puppy's getting a little bit more sick, you know, a little bit ill, and people say, oh, what's wrong with poor puppy? His ears are down and stuff. And later I just curl up in a little ball at the end and just die. So everyone's like, oh, poor puppy.
I think, Consuela, you were absolutely horrified, weren't you? You were going, oh my god, the sick puppy, I can't bear to watch.
But the other actors that were
excellent,
playing pups
yeah.
just immediately started coming over to you and sniffing, and it's like, oh no,
Oh, yeah,
what's
yeah.
going on with that little brother?
I did.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I
It's
had a
really,
pup.
really
I
good.
remember that very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was a pup as well, because I think anybody that didn't have a role was playing puppies in the wolf pack. And I mean, it was an amazing thing, and I love that, because when you're writing a script, you don't think, I would never have thought of killing one of the puppies. That wouldn't have been my bag at all.
That's terrible, yes.
But it was, yeah, well, it just wouldn't. But actually, it made a lot of sense, because he wouldn't be a puppy in the next act. He was going to be a man, of course. You know, so giving his little puppy a story arc, I thought was really clever, and I love that. As someone who writes for Second Life, when you're writing, you're on your own, and you don't think about what people are going to make of their characters, what they're going to think about their characters. But when people take it and run with it, oh my god, that is so valuable. And you look at it, you think, oh, I never thought of that. And when the very first play I ever wrote, we started, I'm not going to lie, we started out in a Korean sim. And the beauty with Korean sims, if anyone's ever investigated them, or you know, and if you haven't, I would recommend it. They really cared about their architecture. They put a lot of thought into how they laid everything out. And when they heard that I wanted to create theatre, they were absolutely thrilled. And they threw resources at me. And I remember I literally auditioned people by IMing them and go, want to be in a play? You know? And that was literally it. If you said yes, you were in. And Dorian was one of the first actors, I think, that took the script and looked at it. And I'd put, sometimes you have quite a lot of lines for one character to say. And he started splitting the lines, which gave emphasis to in certain places. And it never occurred to me as the writer to do that. But of course, from a point of view of an audience, reading a big block of text is really, it's actually quite hard on the eyes, hard on the concentration. And of course, in Second Life, it disappears quite quickly as well. So, you know, I thought, oh, that's inspired. I've never done it since. So now if I have a character saying a big block of text, I'll break it down into smaller lines, because that's really important. And of course, I always think with actors that they are either textually aware or spatially aware, and if you're really lucky, they're both. And by that I mean, what we're doing is almost like puppet theatre. I am a human being sitting at a computer, and as I am saying this to you, I'm waving my hands about, I'm making gestures with my face. You can't see them, you can only see this representation of me. And so I need to try and make sure I'll often say to the cast, get your tits to the action, which just means make your avatar look in the direction of who's speaking. Look like you're having a conversation. Don't just walk your avatar into the space and then leave them there looking in the wrong direction. And I really hate wandering AOs. I'm so totally allergic to wandering AOs. Yeah. I will say, get to our animations and get yourself one that doesn't wander.
Or Amar, stop rolling your shoulders.
Yes. Oh,
How many
God,
times you said
Amar,
that to me?
Oh, the
Well, I guess the
jammies
character
too.
needed it.
Getting their jammies.
Yeah, getting their jammies. Getting their jammies. I don't even know what that meant, but it just meant get really close up to them and look aggressive, like be really in their face. But yeah, it's fun. Right, so we're coming up to the end of this little presentation, and what we're going to do afterwards is get those of you that think that you would like to have a go to come and wander into the space. We've got a little script for you, and we're going to give you the chance to maybe have a go at just where you would stand and moving about and seeing how it works, at least how it works with the Jewell Theatre, although there are other theatres, so just be aware of that. So a question that I want to ask each of you, and I'm going to start with you, Amar, I think.
Okay.
What advice would you give to someone interested in pursuing a career as a virtual actor or a performer in platforms such as Second Life?
This is actually very easy. Just do it. It's that simple. Basically, when I initially joined the theatre, I was more worried about my abilities. I was, like everyone, you also, concerned, am I going to cock it up or anything like that? But the truth is that, I've learned a lot. Yeah, sure, it pushed me, but this is what I needed, and it's certainly given me a lot more confidence, both in SL, and this is what, actually acting in here is what got me acting in real life, because I enjoyed it so much. And honestly, I'm a general blokey bloke. I work on trucks all the time, sort of thing. This is not my sort of like kettle of fish. I wouldn't have thought. But the truth is, I loved it. I loved playing another character, both in here and being in real life. Because I'm more of an introvert. I'm being totally upfront to that. But the truth is, when I'm playing that character, I'm that person. So I now, in real, I'm going out in front of an audience about 250 people, and I act like a complete plonker at times, because that's what a character's doing. And I don't mind. I can do that. I'm not seeing the audience. I've got lights in my eyes. The same as in Second Life. Just do it. Put all your worries to one side. Step in. Give it a go. You got nothing to lose, but you got plenty to gain. Yeah, that's about it.
Thank you, Amar. What about you, Dorian?
Have fun. That's what we do. Don't get hung up on the little small stuff. There are a lot of people that might get upset if they have a smaller role, but sometimes the smaller roles are, well, easier because it's a smaller role, but they can be the most fun. I remember when you tried to explain to me what a pantomime dame was, and I was like, so you want me in drag? And no, that wasn't it. So we figured it all out, and Lady Callow became one of our favorite characters. She was always over the top, always stealing the show, it seemed. And, she continually broke the fourth wall with the audience, which helped with the audience interaction that we like. She'd go up, if we were at a place with a certain royalty person, they'd go up and go, oh, hello, she with you? Not much longer. Call you after the show. Stuff like that. It's just, you got to have fun with it. Because we have that line, who has more fun than us? It's a lot of work. It's exhausting. I mean, I've been, as you know, building a couple of days, and it's like, oh my god, what are we gonna do? But Amar said it earlier, you said it, if we're not having fun, what's the point?
It's got to be fun. It's got to be fun.
Yeah.
Consuela, what advice would you give to people?
Well, I think I definitely echo the advice that both Amar and Dorian have shared. But I would say start by saying yes. Say yes to the readings, to small roles, to experimental projects, whatever helps you get your pixels on stage. So the best way to grow as a virtual performer is to do the work and connect to others who are doing it too. Also be curious about the tools, right? Your AOs, gestures, camera angles. I mean, if you don't know them, be curious about learning them. I know we were talking about voice. We haven't really done a voice performance. I know that's probably still something on your wish list, Fakey.
Oh,
but,
always.
Every moment of every day.
Right? But just
every day.
Like I said, just be curious. A great virtual performance takes just as much care and craft as a real life one, and sometimes more. Finally, find people or collaborators you trust, right? So acting in Second Life is a community effort, which I'm sure it's just like in First Life. And the magic really happens when people bring passion and playfulness to the process. I know that's what I've really enjoyed in being a part of the Jewell Theatre, is all the the joy and playfulness that the team brings together. Very different people. We're all very different people, but we all have something to offer and to bring to the table. And that's been very valuable to me.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, all of you, so much. I've just got one last question to each of you. I'm going to start with you, Consuela. Can you describe a particularly memorable performance or role you've had in Second Life? It doesn't have to be with the Jewell Theatre, and explain why it stands out to you.
Well, actually, when I thought about this question, I did prepare a little response because I know it is one of yours. Like I said, I've not really, I've had lots of different experiences in SL over the many years that I've been here, but yours have always been ones that stand out because I've never experienced anything like it before. I am an introverted person. I am not interested in being on the stage in First Life, but I love being on the stage in Second Life. It's just there because I just feel so much. There's so many, it's limitless. I can do anything. I can be anything. I can fly. I can do whatever needs to happen. So when I think back on one of the more recent ones, I know before this we were talking about Scheherazad's Daughters, right? And that was a play that you wrote. And I played Erica, which is one of three sisters, trapped in a liminal digital space, spinning stories without endings forever, right? So the entire play was layered with symbolism, emotion, and your writing is always on point. As Erica, I got to embody both the magic of storytelling and the heartbreak of stories left unresolved. It was haunting, funny, feminist, and wildly creative all at once. What made it stand out to me was how deeply immersive it was. The staging was interactive, the transitions between tales were seamless, and the entire piece was a love letter to narrative itself. To me, it pushed me as a performer and reminded me of how powerful virtual theater can be when it blends story, avatar, and environment into something truly unforgettable.
Oh, that was lovely. Thank you so much. Thank you, Consuela. Dorian, what about yourself, honey?
I've got a couple that stick out. One I wasn't on stage for, but it was the time that you asked me to have a rocking ship in the middle of a hurricane as part of the set. And, we pulled it off. I'm still trying to figure out how. And it just made me, see what we can do just about anything in Second Life. It's great. A tie with that is one where I was on stage. And I was this very Korean, very manly man. And you made me do two things in that performance that were firsts for me. One, I had to get pixel bits because there was a scene where I was naked in a bed.
Yes.
You want me to do what? Well, I'll have to go buy one. Okay, hang on. There was that. And then there was the scene where we did this walk, where just by the walk showed how powerful he thought he was and how submissive he thought she was. And it was totally wrong once you read the play. But it was this very, very close circle of one avatar around the other. It took us, I don't know how many tries to get it right.
Plane, yes.
Plane,
yes.
yeah. But when we
The
got
tight
it right,
circle at the end, yeah.
we got it right. It was it just did exactly what we wanted. Hands behind the back, circling, eyeballing the girl as I'm circling around her, saying, "Choose me," or "You're useless," or whatever it was. It was hard. It was difficult, but it looked so great when I saw someone else show me how it looked.
I think that's the only problem with Second Life. You could be in a play and then you never get to see it. You don't really ever get to see what the audience sees. Amar, what about yourself?
Well, it's obvious my best bit that I really loved most. That was the puppy. That was the wolf cub. I'm sorry, we already touched on it earlier, but I love that puppy scene. And it's what a lot of people didn't realise that we were in Skype at the time. and I don't know who it was. In the middle, we had someone who had to fall over ill or something, and they were shouting at me, "Don't you dare, Amar!" And every time, that's like a red rag to a bull. Run up to the person and piss, pee over them, sort of thing.
Oh,
and
yes,
yeah.
yeah.
They just shout at me in the sky. Will you do that?
I remember that.
I just love that.
We have to be careful with Amar.
Oh
Yes.
yeah. Don't do that. Oh, why not? So yeah, that's a bit I've always loved. I'd love to do snow again someday as well. To be honest, that'd be fun.
Fakey,
Yes, dear.
do you mind if I ask you a question?
Please do. Please do.
So, when you're auditioning for cast members for specific roles, what do you look for?
That is an excellent question. The first thing I look for is, do I know this person? So have I seen them walk, and have I seen them sit themselves down, stand up? Technically, do I know that they can walk through a play? And so that's an easy question, because quite often they've walked into the theatre, so that's quite useful. I mean, I'm looking out at an audience who have all managed to navigate Fantasy Faire, which, let's face it, is huge. You've all found your way here, so that bodes very well. I also, when let's look at the script, one of the huge things for me is that the script, nothing is more important than the script. Not the writer, not the director, not any particular actor. So I am looking almost for the absence of ego. And that sounds crazy, because obviously you can't exist without an ego, but I am looking for people who don't think that they are going to be the most important thing, because I have got to put together a team. And when I have people who are like that, even if they're really, really good, they are going to break my team, and that is awkward for me. So I am looking for people who leave all that. I mean, we are very fond of saying as a group that we're allergic to drama unless it's actually in that performance space. And to be honest, I mean, we started in 2007. We've been largely a drama-free place. I mean, I can think of a couple of exceptions, but we don't keep those people very long, to be honest. And so I I look for the opposite of drama queens. And then I want people, I really hate when people read the part that I give them and don't read anything else in the play. One of the first plays I ever wrote, I remember somebody saying to me, there was a key moment. She was really important. And in the whole time that we had been rehearsing, the lady that played that role had absolutely no idea that she was, and didn't know that bit at all, because that information came out in a scene she wasn't in. And I was gutted, because for me that means that, bless her, she has not understood her role at all. She's very cute and she's doing what I've asked her to do, but she was not engaged with the script as a whole. For us, the script is the master, and we bow down to the master. Nothing else is more important. And I am also very collaborative. When I bring a script in, I will always say to people, right, how can I make this better? And when they tell me, I will feed that in. So everybody gets to feed back on that. In the end, it's got to be my decision, but usually my scripts will go through several hands, and I will just throw it out and put it in, and sometimes the grammar doesn't work, or the spelling's all off or anything, but that's okay. I've got people who can help me with that further down the line. There's little things, like one time I put in a script, "Are you putting it on?" One of the characters asked another question. Now, any British person sitting here listening to me will know exactly what that means. But it was a little while into the actual performance, somebody said, "What is she putting on?" And I was going, "Her accent, she's putting on the voice. She doesn't really speak like that." "Oh, do you mean pretending?" I went, "Yes." Did you not know that? And of course, I went and changed that line. I will change anything to make it work for the audience and for the cast. So, yeah, absolutely. Divided by our common language. Now, what I want to do... Does that answer your question, Dorian, do you think?
It does. Thank you.
Yes, I went off at a tangent there for some reason. What I want to do now, if you are at all interested in staying for a little bit of an interactive workshop, then please feel free to stay. We're going to just change this set, and then we've got a little exercise for people to give a go at. So this next bit is going to be a little bit loosey-goosey while we all sort of come out of this space, change this set, and then we'll go back into it. Okay. Thank you very much for coming if you are on your way out. So.
And for those of you who are wondering what I meant about the set bumping, you're about to see.